Welcome to Empowered to Grow, the podcast. I am your host, Hanan Basha, the business doctor. Following our conversations with empowered women who woke up one day and consciously claimed, I am more than enough, I am worthy, I am empowered to grow. And along their empowering journey towards realizing their own potential and their quest for growth, they became a beacon of hope and guidance for others. May you also find your inner power to grow. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Empowered to Grow. This is your host, Hanan Basha. Today, I have a lovely lady who I call it serendipity that we met somehow, somewhere. The universe has brought us together. Tara Newman is the person you kind of mention when you're talking about the science of high performance, of resilience in entrepreneurship specifically, and trying to bring it all together in terms of her being a coach to high achieving men and women from around the world, and also an author. Tara, thank you and welcome to the show.
Hanan, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here today with the Oprah of the Middle East.
I got dubbed that on one of the live podcasts I was doing, and I'm like, I'm going to take that. Thank you very much.
Take it and run with it. And let's just keep saying it and putting it out there.
Exactly. That is the plan.
We're going to breathe that into reality.
Yes. And one day I'm going to have Oprah on my show. And one day I'm going to be sitting in her backyard with the Super Soul Sunday conversation. So I'm putting it out in the universe as well. Tara, when I asked you to come on the show, and the show is Empowered to Grow, what does that mean to you and how has it resonated with you?
I've been thinking about this obviously since coming on here, and what does empowered to grow mean to me? And for me, I think there's something in that around taking responsibility, personal responsibility for what we want in our lives that leads to forward momentum and evolution. Mm-hmm. And I think the empowered part, I think sometimes we wait for someone to empower us.
Yes.
Right. And so when I was thinking about that empowered part, for me, it's really about taking that responsibility.
I think that's the essence of it. And that's the essence of why when I keep talking about empowerment, I say, there is always, you can't do it alone. So you always create a tribe, and there are people that you trust and people that come along in your path and kind of support you alongside. But being empowered to grow means that you've taken the responsibility in your own hands, saying that even when there is no one around and in the face of adversity and anything else that's happening in our life, I'm empowered to stand on my own 2 feet.
Yeah. And that you're accountable.
Yeah. Exactly.
To yourself.
Accountable. Exactly.
Right. Let you hold yourself accountable, because this is a big conversation that I have with the women that I work with, whether privately or in the Bold Profit Academy. They started saying this really strange thing to me around our work together, that I help them grow up in their business. And I didn't understand that for a really long time, because it felt strange to me. Because I look at them and I see grown women.
Yes.
So I didn't like it. And then so many of them had said that to me. And finally I was like, can you tell me more about what you're saying? And it was so much around responsibility and accountability. And I think sometimes we try and abdicate that accountability to somebody else, yes. But it's like, we have to learn how to do, that's part of our growth.
That's true. And we can always employ coaches whose main job is accountability, is guidance, is kind of holding our hands in some aspects. But at the end of the day, no one can do the job on our behalf, and no one could wake up and face everything in our lives on our behalf. And that's right. Okay, so kind of going from there, you are empowered to grow, and you are empowering others to grow at the same time. Can you tell us a bit about your story?
Sure. I actually feel very empowered to grow, but that wasn't always the case. I think, which is true for so many of us.
That's true.
And I think that at different times in my life, it looked differently. I think when I was younger, I felt really empowered. And then something happened as I got older, and I assimilated into, I sometimes want 16-year-old Tara back so badly. Something
Just
tells me
before.
16-year-old
Just
Hanan
before.
too.
Just before everything hit the fan.
Before people started speaking into what you needed to do and who you needed to be
That's true.
in the world. And, I did a whole stint in corporate America for a good almost 20 years. And I went through the education system, and I know you've gone through the education system. I know
Yep.
you have your doctorate. I have a master's degree. And I think there's a lot of conditioning
Yes.
that happens in those spaces that for me made me feel very small or very hemmed in. And I remember leaving corporate because I laugh now when I say this, and I'll tell you why. I felt undervalued
Mm-hmm.
and underutilized.
Yeah.
And so I started my own business, and I was like, well, all of a sudden I'm just going to be valued and utilized. That's not how that works.
No.
Because it took me probably 6 months to realize that it was me who was undervaluing and underutilizing
Yourself.
my own strengths and skills and not advocating for
Mhm.
myself. And like nobody was going to come around with a magic wand and be like, now you get to step into all those big dreams you have and just magically do this thing. That I had to really rewire how I perceived myself. I didn't even realize I had an unworthy thing.
Yep.
I thought it was their fault,
Yes. True.
so I
I
didn't
know
even realize
I'm
it
shaking
was,
my head because I'm
yeah,
nodding because I
she's
relate.
shaking her head at me.
I relate. Yes. Same.
Right?
Same
I didn't even
places.
realize that it was me
Yes.
that had that issue. So it took me a little while to untangle that and to truly start to feel ownership
Mm-hmm.
and in command of my choices and how that impacts the goals that I have
Mm-hmm.
and how I perceive goals and setting goals and how I perceive outcomes and how I perceive growth. Because I don't see failure. I
Yeah.
only see growth
Exactly.
now, right? Because I've had to rewire that in
Yes.
myself.
Yes.
And so I think that's kind of been a part of my journey, because when you start a business and entrepreneurship, that's the big joke, right? There's no greater personal development project or experience.
Yes.
Man,
Yeah.
that
It
really,
humbles you in
oh,
like on more than one level, on so many levels. But
so many
then
levels.
again, it really does require an awareness to understand that you really need to get the ego out of the way.
Yeah. And when I started my business, it was the first time that I really stepped outside from underneath like the shadow of my husband
Yeah. Okay.
and claimed something for my own.
Mm-hmm.
Because this isn't my first business. We actually had 2 other businesses that he was forward facing in.
Okay.
I continued to work in corporate, bring in some steady income while he was doing that. But one of the businesses I was a primary partner in. And even my whole life that we've been together for a very long time. Like I would just hand over my paycheck to him, and he would take care of the bills and he would pay things, and I wouldn't want to know anything about it. So, or I didn't care to know anything about it. It was easy. And I just kind of had this belief that if I just kept like giving my energy to his success, then we would have everything I ever wanted.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I started my own business that I realized that I was responsible for what I wanted. And while he's got goals and he's an ambitious sort, and that's wonderful. Like it was never going to be enough for me
Yes.
because it wasn't mine.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another big part of me and claiming my financial independence. And I really sometimes wonder for women, can we get to a place of true empowerment without having these conversations around financial empowerment and financial and money?
I think it's a must. I know that
I get in trouble for
recently.
saying that, but I'm glad you did.
No,
She
no,
said it, not
is.
me.
No, it is a must. I'm not saying that we as like I'm married as well, and we have our finances together. There are parts of it. I mean, now with my business still, I'm putting in my effort to grow it and everything. He's a sole provider for the family, my husband. So understanding that, but also understanding that I wanted to be financially independent, because I used to work. I mean, I've been working since I was at university. So I'm used to having an income. And when I first got married, I was very financially independent in terms of I get my own car, I get my own clothes, you know, those kind of things. I don't want your money when it comes to that. But the point is, I was still not financially independent because I didn't have the proper money mindset. And something I've been very consciously working on the past, to be honest, only over the past year, is shifting my relationship with money and understanding how I can utilize it towards my own empowerment and that of my family and that of everyone I want to serve. But I was never conditioned with that to start with. For me, money brought a lot of pain, and that is because of a lot of inner child wounds and growing up wounds that came along with it. And thus, for me, money is I made money, I made a lot of money, and I made sure to get it all out of my system and all out of my accounts, just so I don't want to be around money. And I think that's something that, as I'm talking to more and more women, there is empowerment in understanding, first deciphering your relationship with money, and then understanding how it is that you can then create a loving relationship with money, where you are attracting it because you are utilizing it for empowerment and for growth, rather than need it and have this codependent relationship that kind of brings a lot of pain with.
And it's really fascinating, because I believe that if like we put more money in the hands of women, the world would look so phenomenally different, because there are tremendous, in my opinion, differences between the way men spend money very transactionally,
Yes.
and then how women use money way more energetically.
True.
And even what's important to them to spend money on,
Yeah.
you know, versus men. And I think the world would be infinitely better if we get more women making more money.
More women making money, and not, I think possibly there's also a part of us that shies away from it. It's kind of, no. And that is related. And I was nodding my head when you were talking about understanding and appreciating your own worthiness. That is also like now when my stint in corporate world lasted about 12 years. And then over the past 10 plus years, I've been in like the private business and entrepreneurial world and stuff. And I realized that I did not stand up for myself enough in terms of my position, in terms of my responsibilities, in terms of my financial returns, whether that be in corporate or even in my private business when I was partners with other people. And even when I first started 3 or 4 years ago, saying, okay, I'm an advisor / mentor / coach / whatever it is, the title that you want, so that I can serve you. I could never claim my worth. It's just, it made me feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah, women have a really hard time advocating for their value because they devalue themselves. Like things that come easy to women, they devalue. And I think, it really, again, there's just so much conditioning around women, work, money, like we have been conditioned to do all this unpaid labor.
Yes, exactly.
And we're always in corporate, we were always the first to raise our hands to take something on, because then we thought that somebody would acknowledge us. Like we were so hungry to be seen as valuable. And we wouldn't advocate for it. In corporate, I actually worked in human resources, and I was responsible. One of the functions I was responsible for was compensation, paying people in the company. And it was fascinating. The whole term, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, is so true. But the squeaky wheels were always the men. They had no problem advocating for how much work they thought they did. And women were just waiting to be asked to the dance.
Exactly. When one of my main corporate jobs, I got the offer, and the offer was for senior manager. I was in the marketing field. So it was senior marketing manager. I'm like, Wow. Yay. Okay. So I got that. I thought it was marketing manager. So I got the title, and then they responded, and I wanted to verify. So they responded is like, oh no, it's the responsibilities are the same. The title isn't, the package isn't. I was like, and amazing. Yeah, I accepted because I'm like, again, I was conditioned that the expectations were marketing manager. Why are you aiming for more? And I spent like 3.5 years trying to get to the next level, but there were always reasons that made sense, that it's not the time, it's not the money, it's not whatever. But yeah, and then once you started your business, back to your journey, when is the part where you said, okay, now I need to coach high achieving men and women into understanding their resiliency and understanding their strengths actually?
So I was a coach in corporate. So that was, I was in the performance space in my corporate job. So I came out of corporate coaching people around performance, not as specifically as I do now, because now I work with women service providers who started their business for financial and personal freedom, right? Isn't that pretty much why we've all started our businesses? But find themselves absolutely exhausted and over leveraged, and it's impacting and overcomplicating their businesses, right? And so one of the things that I did was I went and got certified as a profit first consultant, so that I could really help women understand money better. Because when we understand money from a mindset perspective, but also put in some practical pieces, it allows our nervous system to calm down, performance, right? Our nervous system to calm down so that we can earn more money, regulate to what it feels like to hold more money. Like you were talking about you could have it, but you couldn't hold it. Right. There's like a performance aspect to that around regulating our nervous system. There is a aspect of women who start their own businesses being incredibly high achieving, but not necessarily high performing. And if I can, and it's like a spectrum, like I'm not saying that if you're a high achiever, that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, actually, it's a great thing. I can't take a low achiever and make them a high performer. I can only really take a high achiever and give them some process and some skills and systems so that they can be more of a high performer, so they have the endurance that they need to continue their businesses. Because anything around, I'm not planning on stopping my business anytime soon. You're not planning on stopping your business anytime soon. So the name of the game is resiliency. How do you keep going and feel really great as you keep going? Because when you feel great, great things happen. And when you feel great, money comes. Right. And how can we make this whole business thing feel more enjoyable, less exhausting, and wildly profitable?
That's right. Isn't that the bottom line of everything?
Yeah. And that requires us to be intentional. Discerning, responsible, accountable, right? Some of those other things where I think a lot of people think it's like a Facebook ad or a webinar. Those are tools. Those are tools.
But again, that's the point. And I think it comes up over and over again in conversations. It starts with awareness, and with awareness comes the intention. And with the intention come the following strategies, actions, implementations, executions, and the adaptations and the resilience and you keep the perseverance of trying different things, not trying the same thing over and over again, because that's the definition of insanity and still waiting for different results, but keeping adapting and pivoting accordingly, just to ensure that your goal does not change, but you get to your goal with different things. And I think that's very challenging when you're talking about building up a business from the ground up.
Yeah. So I think what happens is women, when they come to me, they're really drained.
Yeah.
They're exhausted and they think they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And they're really not, because growth in itself is exhausting.
Sure.
Think about a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
They're growing so rapidly and they're sleeping half the day, right? And so business growth is really no different. It's fatiguing.
Mm-hmm.
Um it could be de-energizing. And so how can we give these women the tools to navigate growth in a way that is about resiliency, but there is no resiliency unless you focus on rest and recovery.
That's true. That's so true.
Resiliency isn't the ability to keep going and overcoming adversity. I mean, that's part of it. But there's the other part that requires rest and recovery, which we don't get that much these days, especially with this, with the way everything is just on 24/7
Yeah.
and online things and having so much access to communication and
You always feel like you have the FOMO factor walking in. You're like, okay, do I need to do a post now? Do I need to be on Clubhouse? Okay, do I need to be shooting something? Am I live on Instagram? And I need to do another reel because the other one, didn't do enough. And it's always that kind of go, go, go. And that's why another thing that for me was a realization over the past few years was I spent a lifetime trying to seek balance, the work life.
oh,
Until recently, I realized what I'm seeking is synergy and understanding that the weight of the different elements of my life shifts. And I need to be resilient and adaptive to shift along with it. Understanding that still I put the general framework and the general structure of how my week should be like, but to be adaptive to whatever is happening and to give priority to those that need the most attention and kind of investment of mindfulness.
hmm yeah, I say integration, but synergy
Yeah.
is a great word for that.
So from where you stand right now, what advice would you impart on your 19-year-old self?
Ooh, my 19-year-old self was a 4.0 college student taking 21 credits a semester. And I'm shaking her head and laughing because something tells me that we were the
Yeah.
same person, just on different parts of the globe.
Yeah. Well, I had to overcompensate because I had failed a bit in the middle, kind of, my
Me
GPA
too.
went down and I was like, I need to catch up. I can't graduate without honors.
So I barely made it out of high school. That was I had undiagnosed ADHD. I actually didn't get diagnosed with ADHD until this year.
Mhm.
So I didn't do great in high school. So when I got to college, I really, for a lot of reasons, I was more engaged. Things are more interesting in college, and
Of course.
I guess I felt like maybe I had something to overcome or to prove that I wasn't a failure,
Mhm.
right? Because at that point, I probably did feel like a huge failure. So I think for 19-year-old Tara, I would let her know that um, everything always works out as it should.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, the other end of the spectrum, from a time capsule perspective, what would you like your 90-year-old self to thank you for today?
Oh, I would like my 90-year-old self to, you know what? I'm really proud of my resiliency. I think all women
Mhm.
should really be proud of how much they hold. And if this wasn't this past year didn't prove that, I don't know what it would have proven, because all of the things we've had to navigate, school, whether you're a mom and I'm a mom, I've got 2 kids, like school
We've got
closings
one,
and
and virtual school drove me crazy.
yeah, remote school and it really drove home for me how much women hold, even if they have an active partnership.
Yes.
It really, there's something different about, my husband and I can both be home, but my kids will come to me for the questions. They're always texting me. The school, I think I've put him as the primary contact, but they contact me anyway. Like, I've tried so many ways around this because he doesn't understand what my problem is all day. So I think, just my resiliency and acknowledgement for how much I hold and how much I've accomplished in my life.
Yeah, I love that. So to sum this up, you're on a stage and you're talking to tens of thousands of women, and the topic is about being empowered to grow. What would be that lasting message you leave them with? The closing statement.
I did this.
Oh, you did?
So
Yay.
And the title of my talk was "The Strategy Is You."
Ooh, I like that a lot.
Women seek externally for the fix, the tactic, the tool, the strategy, the answer, and really it is you.
Yes, it's not within you, it's you, as in
it's you.
all of you.
Right.
Yeah, that I love that. So the strategy is you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing that the as you said, we're having this synergy across the continents, and that is one of the things that I'm super advocating recently, and based on everything I'm learning and everything I'm viewing and all the work I'm doing with all women, we are slowly, and being empowered is slowly shifting from the external validation to the internal gratification and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
I think this falls in line with strategy is you.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you realize again that it is within you. And as you said, and this is something I obviously believe in so much, is we tend to discount what we've overcome, how much we have done to date,
Mm-hmm.
like the resilience within us because of the conditioning along the years, because of the external noise, and because of all of this, that we tend to say, no, I'm not enough. And I know for me, I realized that it was actually my first coaching session about 4 years ago, where the coach stopped me. He's like, okay, time out. After about half an hour of talking and stuff, he's like, why are you using the statement over and over again? Not good enough. And this is just for time frame perspective, and I've shared the story a few times, is this was literally 2 weeks before earning my doctorate degree, as in I was already done. I was just waiting for the paperwork and the official email of congratulations, doctor. This is after about 6 years of being co-founding 4 businesses. This is 12, 13 years of corporate. This is so many other things. These are like the professional and academic achievements, but just as a person and surviving an expat and all of this. And I still did not feel I was good enough. I was going again for the next ladder, not the next rung in the ladder, the next ladder. I was looking for the same next thing. I was looking for that validation of, you're doing a good job. You can rest now, you can celebrate now. And it never comes in that way, because there's always someone out there doing a bit more. And there's another certificate that I need to take. And there's something else that needs to be validated. And the moment I stopped, that for me was kind of the wake up call, or I call it the kind of going through an ice bucket challenge where, okay, now I get it. And it's like kind of waking up and saying, okay, what are my success parameters? What do I want to achieve? Not what I was told I need to achieve. What do I want out of my life, and how do I measure my own success?
Mm-hmm.
And that for me just changed my life around, literally my trajectory of everything I wanted to do and everything I want to do. Strategy is you.
The strategy is you. And I think, women really struggle just to celebrate their successes. Mm-hmm. I see that all the time.
Yeah. Well, Tara, thank you so much for such an insightful and synergetic conversation. I loved it so much. Where can our viewers and listeners find you in virtual space?
In the virtual space, they can find me. One, I have a podcast, The Bold Money Revolution, and this is talking all about women and business and money, which are some of the most important conversations that we can be having right now. And I'm always on Instagram at the Tara Newman.
Okay. Well, we'll put the links in our show notes. So that's going to be there so they can reach you. Thank you so much. I love this. And I'm sure we're going to continue into our uncharted discussion to talk a bit more about other elements that you brought up. And I would love to dig deeper with you.
Thanks, Hanan. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Tara. Well, I mean, there's nothing more I can say other than strategy is you, as Tara said. This is the bottom line of what we can take out of this show, and just to give ourselves the grace, celebrate ourselves, and understand that it is within us and it is us to create a life that we want on our own terms. Thank you so much for joining us today. I wish you love, abundance, and prosperity. Take care. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Empowered to Grow podcast. For further engagement with a tribe of empowered women, join my Facebook group, Empowered to Grow, or visit my website, www.hananalbasha.com. I'll catch you on the next episode. And until then, know that empowered you empowers others. Love, abundance, and prosperity to you all.